Hey guys, this is Bill Oberst Jr., and you're listening to Without Your Head Horror, the station of decapitation. Keep your head. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Nicholas Tana of Hell's Kitty. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So Hell's Kitty is going to premiere February 2nd at TLC Chinese Theater, then on the 23rd, I believe, at other theaters.
Yeah, no, actually, it's just a one-off right now on February 22nd. It's a special event fundraiser we're doing for the nonprofit Fix Nation. And it's going to be a fun time to kick off the release of the film before our March release.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. So where did the whole idea of Hell's Kitty come from?
The whole idea originally started from my experiences for real in Los Angeles trying to date with a cat that's possessed and, possessive, I should say, rumored to be possessed, and was very uncomfortable with it. And in fact, Lisa, who plays Lisa in the film, we basically reenacted the first scene of her meeting the cat for the first time when I had her come over. She was a friend, actress, and we went on a few dates, and that was like Meet the Cats, instead of Meet the Parents. And we added a little bit more blood with poetic license, but basically it was a reenactment of that scene.
Uh-huh. Now, I know in the movie, it says R.I.P. to the real cat. Is the cat in the movie this cat that you're talking about, or did the cat pass away before you started making the?
No, the cat survived through the shooting and passed away afterwards, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the cat. That's my cat. That's my cat Angel. Yeah, and in fact, the film's a tribute to her now, as a dedication to her. She was really special. She's the James Dean of cats. She was written up in Catster magazine while the series was still going on, and she even had some fan followers who created some pages. I think there's an Angel's Army page on Facebook that was created by a fan, and people really loved her. And she scratched some of the most famous people in horror, so she really is probably one of the most famous cats. It was so weird because as I'm talking to you, just as we were talking about this, and I'm totally serious. This is not a put on or some publicity thing. I have this little meow cat keyboard thing that we used to make some noises during the killer clown scene, and it just meowed. I didn't touch it. I'm walking around my apartment. There's no one else here. It just meowed. I don't know if you can hear it in the track via playback, but that was not anyone touching it. It was so weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I am sorry that the cat passed away. I am myself a big pet fan, and I had a cat for over 20 years, and it was very sad when she passed away. So, how old was Angel?
Angel was 10, so it was a little younger than I expected. I mean, I guess it's possible at that age, but yeah, we're not even sure what exactly it was. It was some form of a lymphoma, we think, and yeah, it was sad. It was just afterwards. It was almost like she was sad that there was no more filming because afterwards she just started. It was probably about a week later she just started getting sick a lot, and it gradually increased over a period of a year. And I was taking her to the vet constantly, and it was tough. But I learned a lot about that, and it was interesting. In fact, the day she passed away, there were fires in Los Angeles. There were fires. I don't know if you remember the fires that actually went over on the highway.
Yeah.
And actually caught fire. Some cars caught fire. That was the day she passed away. And then the next day there was like an extreme rain. It was like which was great for us because California is so dry. It was just wild, the whole experience.
Mm-hmm. So when you did for the first episode for the web series before you make it into the feature, what were your plans then? Like, did you want to do X amount of them, or did it kind of grow as you kept doing them?
Yeah, well, no, I had it mapped out in my head. In fact, I have a whole second season mapped out in my head too, that continues it. But basically, what I did manage to create was the first season. I just never released the final episode online, knowing that I would probably reskin it like they say in the gaming world, where you take the platform and reskin it to make another game. Well, I was going to reskin it as a feature film to paste it together and then add some footage you didn't see, as well as give the final ending or denouement, from that was never seen. It actually serves, it's really cool this way. It serves as its own standalone piece, so to speak. So if you like the web series, well, you're never going to know how it wraps unless you see the movie. And if you like the movie, you're going to have to go and see the web series, because there's scenes that didn't make it into the movie that give you some extra bonus understanding into some of the other characters. So that's kind of like world building, which I'm really into, the concept of building whole worlds out. And I think where we're going with virtual reality and things, I think you're going to see a lot more of that kind of style of approaching storytelling.
Mm-hmm. How did you get all the different, you get a lot of huge names involved. How did they come about?
Well, I think the first was Nina Hartley, because she had appeared in one of my previous film, my documentary film, Sticky, a Self-Love Story. And then I knew her from that, and I kind of pitched her, and she was like, yeah, it sounds great. So an opportunity to do something comedic and different. And so I got her on board. And then after Nina, I think the first person was Michael Berryman. I reached out, kind of got a hold of, I think I met Michael Berryman at an event at first, but then I reached out to his manager and talked and sent the script, and we went back and forth a few times, but she loved the script, and he loved it as well. And he likes animals. So that was a good, match there. And then after that, he had such a good time. I mean, his manager, Judy Fox, was like, let's show this. I want to show this around. And she kept like showing around town. And I think to kind of show his ability in comedy. That led to his endorsement. And then other people, at some point I was getting calls from people saying, what can I do to get my clients in Hell's Kitty? And it kind of became that sort of thing. And then I was literally writing in roles to match talent that I wanted in the project. I mean,
that's
initially
be a pretty awesome feeling, I think. Yeah.
Oh, it totally is. Initially, that scene with Courtney Gaines and John Franklin was not necessarily in the original script, but I thought it had to be in there because it was just so fun. And then the concept of having these guys from this period when they were kids, as adults, what would they be doing? If they survived, and I thought, like, yeah, they'd probably be like Bible thumping, pushing salesmen or something to the extreme and really scary. And then, but what if they came across someone who had this cat and they'd never believe it? What a great way to get rid of them. And I just thought it was so fun.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite cameos or people in Hell's Kitty was Courtney Gaines and John Franklin. It was great. Do you know if that's the first time they worked together since Children of the Corn?
I probably should know this, but I don't. I can't say definitively. I can't say definitively. It might be. And I feel like I did know it at one point in talking to Courtney and John, obviously, but I can't remember. I'm sure a quick IMDb search might find something there, but I know Courtney was, I believe he also, this was way when he was younger, but he appeared in one of my favorite filmmakers' films, Joe Dante's film, The Burbs, right? And so
yes, he's the man.
And that was, and that was a comedic role too. And so John Franklin wasn't in that, but he was in Addams Family. And in fact, some people might not notice this, but there's an allusion to that, his character, Cousin It, in there. It's you can hear right before I answer the door as Nick, Cousin It sounding, from the other side of the door. It's a lot of fun. No one's mentioned that yet, but there's tons of things in the film.
Yeah, I didn't notice that myself, and I knew that he played the role, and I always thought his character in Children of the Corn is Isaac is like a villain that you really can't root for, because a lot of villains in movies, I think a lot of people, horror fans, like want to root for, but he's like so annoying in Children of the Corn. Not he himself, he's a great guy, but his character's so annoying. He's one of the ones like you just can't root for that guy, Isaac.
Well, totally. And if you look at, I like playing with their characterization, right? So you have this almost guy with like a Napoleon type complex, commanding this other guy who's like his henchman. And I thought, well, how would they really feel, if these guys are stuck together for years, and they have this brotherly almost fight. And I love the dialogue between them, just letting each other have it. And then, of course, in the end, Isaac seems to manipulate, the Isaac's character. Isaiah, I think we call him in our story, but he tends to manipulate him to go check on the cat first because there's this little fear there. So, and I love that too. I think it's fun to see that and to play with that. And of course, in the scene, Courtney Gaines' character, he was able to do some music. He's also a musician.
Yeah,
he rocks out. So I wanted to kind of highlight that. And
like that too.
There's musical elements to the story too.
Yeah. And you speaking of music, because that was awesome too. That he's playing another guitar and singing. But you have a music video out.
Yeah, we do. In fact, it's been getting some press lately too. We released it recently. And it's the original song Chainsaw Kitty, which I co-wrote with the composer who did most of the songs in Hell's Kitty, Richard Albert, who's from Germany. He hails from Germany. He was a fan, actually, of the original show back when it was called My Pussy's Possessed. And we changed the name because of Nina Hartley and the association with porn. We were like, okay, we can't have this, so we moved it to Hell's Kitty. And then he came on to work as a sound designer and then composer. And then we started writing well together, and we created Chainsaw Kitty, which actually was originally written for a scene that never made it in the movie with Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, and which the cat's claws were going to turn literally into chainsaws and tear him apart. But we never got to use that scene, but we did. That was what Michael Berryman wound up playing, that scene, and then we switched the scene around, and then we used the song as it appears a few times in the film, but during the whole dance sequence with Ashley C. Williams from the Human Centipede and Barbara Nickel from Hostel. We use it there, and then it's also I think it's used prior to that or after as a ringtone too in Nick's phone. So
that's pretty sweet. Did any of the people ad lib anything about their characters?
For the most part, they stuck with the script, but there were a few nuances here and there that got ad libbed. But yeah, actually none of them pop up now. Then again, it's been we wrapped production on this. It's been at least a couple of years now, and then by the time we chose the right distribution deal. So yeah, I can't remember, to be honest. But I'm not a stickler as a director where they have to stick exactly. If the actors are working well and there's a vibe, we'll definitely let them roll with it. I think that's more natural. But most of them actually really, I think the script was well thought out in terms of what needed to be done and what needed to continue in the world. So for the most part, I think they were working with what they had on the page.
Mm-hmm. Now back to the Chainsaw Kitty song. You mentioned that. Did you say you wrote the lyrics, or
Yeah.
What did you have? Yeah. Okay. Do you have background in music at all, or was it just something you did for the movie?
Oh no, I've been a musician for many years. I used to be in bands. Okay. I was in a band in Europe and Spain and in New York and in the Connecticut area. So I wrote how that started is I had the concept. I wrote the lyrics and kind of hummed the melody line and played it on an acoustic guitar, the basic concepts of the chord progression. Sent it over via the internet to my co-writer. And he just went to town on it, really developed it, made a few changes in the arrangement, and then recorded and produced it. And then it was his team that recorded and edited that music video, the black and white version of it, and then sent it back to us. We loved it so much that we had our editor of Hell's Kitty, Gustavo Sampaio, edit in the clips of the movie and decided to release it like that. And now this music video has like more horror icons in it than any music video in history, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So back to the cat. What do you use for blood when the cat's involved? Because I assume you don't want to get anything that's gonna stick to the cat, or the cat won't like to lick up, or so what's used?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what we were doing. I think in some cases it was a mixture of water and maybe maple syrup. But I know it was non-toxic things. I mean, I wish that was really the art department and the and Masayoshi, who is Masayoshi, who is he's from Japan originally, did the awesome practical and makeup in our film. It was great. In fact, he had been so active as a part of Hell's Kitty, and then I think it was hard. It's hard in LA, especially indie filmmaking, and I don't even know if he's focused. I know he was teaching it for a while. I don't know if he's done much since, and I'm hoping after this movie, now that it's coming out, he's going to find any work he needs because he's incredible. So,
so you said that was it always your idea to make it into a movie eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was a possibility. I didn't know if I could pull it off, to be honest. Sure. But in my mind, that was something I would like to do. And I know I had made mention of it a bunch of times to all those involved. But I didn't want anyone to get their hopes up that it was going to be a movie because I didn't know if I could even pull it off. And then in editing it and trying to piece it together, there was a lot of challenges because you've got this story that would really be a super long film. I mean, that no one would sit down and watch. So you had to make really smart decisions in what to cut out. But at the same time, I couldn't give a lot of the talent major roles, pivotal roles. I mean, there's very few that had pivotal roles. Like Adrienne Barbeau's Rosemary Carey was rather pivotal because she provides something to the plot structure that just had to be there. But and of course I could have cast other people as some of the other talent too. But for the most part, a lot of their roles were more restricted to I had them on set for a day or half a day, and I kept it real run and gun. And so I wanted the film to have all of them in it. So it was really hard to cut because I wanted to keep all of them in it, even though some of it might have been able to get cut out to make it the 98-minute length it needed to be. And so that was a super challenge, and it was well met by Gustavo Sampaio, who is an Emmy Award-winning editor. I worked with him at ESPN years ago. We kind of went up the ranks together there, and when I was an associate, we were both associate directors there, and I pulled him in, and he worked with me, and he with a scalpel and a surgeon's precision, he just said, "Let's just start tearing this up." And it was hard for me too because I liked a lot of the scenes and I saw its value. So that was really hard. That was really hard. That was a challenge, but I think it was well met, and I'm actually proud of it. I think it came out really well. I think the pacing, for the most part, works really well. So,
for something like that, do you think you have to have someone else come in and do the editing? Because, like you said, it's your own stuff, so you're connected to it. Some of it may be connected to you just because you remember filming it. It's easier to have someone else edit it, you think, than if you would have had to do it all yourself.
Yes, it is. And usually I'm very active in all the parts of filmmaking, and I'll often sit down, too, with the editors and edit with them. But in this case, I just stepped away and I kind of gave him some ideas and what I was thinking, and then he just went at it and kind of did a pass. And then we went back and forth a few times with notes, but for the most part, I just let him go and do versions. We did have an assistant editor who originally tackled trying to edit the piece together, Bob Canode. But he really is a fan of Twin Peaks, and he loved Hell's Kitty series, and he just couldn't chop anything. Like, I'm sitting there saying, we can't do it like this. We have to cut more out. And he's like, no, but you can't, and you can. And so eventually I just had to bring in Gustavo, who was a little bit more distanced from it. He had cut some episodes as well, but not that much. And he was able to go and make some tough calls, and I acquiesced on a few, and then we finally got it down to the feature length we needed.
So when did Corpsey become involved?
Corpsey got involved near the end, and it was in a very important scene that serves almost like The Usual Suspects. It becomes a narrative device to carry through and to really smooth out the edges in terms of like piecing this together. And I really love the fact that he used to be, he is a publisher. He was the publisher of Girls and Corpses magazine, but he was also a publicist, I believe, for Warner Brothers at one point. And so knowing this about him and knowing his personality, I thought he'd be perfect as the publisher in the film. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away or anything, but
sure.
But yeah, I thought his role was fitting. So, and he did a great job. I'm really happy with his performance. I think he's talented.
Yeah, definitely. I was happy to see him. I have a lot of memories of Corpsey at different conventions. Very first convention I was ever at, I was press for the first Days of the Dead, and he just came up to me and he's like, "Hey, would you want to film some girls making out in a body bag?" And I was just like, "Of course." And then the friendship was formed.
Well, he has a unique sensibility, and he jives well with part of mine as well. You know, it's that Mad Libs. But the twisted grotesque, it's funny. It's a lot of fun, and to some extent, Hell's Kitty has a lot of that too. So it worked well.
Yeah. So have you screened the film version with an audience yet?
Yeah, we actually screened at the Bram Stoker Film Festival. We were invited to screen out there, and that was sort of the world premiere. And that was back in 2016. I believe it was October of 2016. And we had a great time there. It was a lot of fun. And I met some great people out there as well through that. What a great, interesting town too. That was in Whitby, England, and it was this Gothic fest going on at the same time too. So it was a bit surreal, and it was great. It was well received. And I'd hope to do some more. It'll be interesting to see it screened for the first time domestically here in the U.S. at the Chinese Theater this month on the 22nd. I think that's going to be exciting. Yeah. I love screening there. We screened a bunch of the episodes there throughout.
Oh, nice.
And it actually won an award, an Audience Choice Award at Holly Shorts, which does monthly screenings there. That was back in 2015, I believe. So I've seen this, and that was another thing about seeing it evolve in front of an audience and episodically as we'd be screening these theatrically, and then making notes of that and deciding when we went to edit the feature, like if we wanted to make any changes or change some of the pacing and things too. It was nice to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Before, you noticed that the fans were people went to the screenings, enjoyed it. Is it nervous at all the first time you're going to screen something? It's your own work. You don't know how the audience is going to react.
No, hell yeah. It's extremely nerve-wracking. I mean, I think I'm a bit paranoid and OCD both combined when it comes to anything that I'm doing creatively. So I have these the fears that, first are people going to show up, and then as the seats fill up, even my last screening, my film, we wound up selling out and had 80 people trying to get in. And now my switch went from, okay, they showed up. Are they going to like it? And then it's, is the film going to screen from top to bottom, or there's going to be some kind of glitch that ruins it? And this goes throughout the whole time I'm there. And I remember once sitting next to a friend of mine, and it's funny because she's a therapist, and she looked and she grabbed my knee and she's like, "Nick, isn't this wonderful?" And I look around and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's wonderful." and that lasted for all of about 30 seconds, and I went back to being paranoid about the whole thing. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, one imagines how it would feel and what excitement it is, but it depends on your personality, I guess. If you're able to let go and enjoy the moment, or if you're constantly thinking or in your head about the experience and what you hope it is based on your mind's eye, that could be horrifying.
Right.
So
especially something you're so involved in, obviously, writing it, directing it, and then starring in it. So it's really your baby.
Yeah, it is. And it can be quite personal. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's fun. And I think people forget entertainment in the end. There's going to be people that like things, don't like things. There's going to be people that it jives with and it doesn't. And really that's to a large extent, that's very subjective. And in the end, did it entertain you? And if it did, then great. It did its job. But as an artist or as someone who creates, you of course have to consider an audience. But I think you have to consider what works for you first, because you don't really know what other people are going to like for sure, right? We're not mind readers. And that one guiding thing is that heart, that thing inside that says, okay, this works. This is right. This feels right. This is good. And the more you can tap into that and stay with that, I think you'll create something magical, and it will find its audience. And then it's even more beautiful, because then those that connect with it are actually, in a way, connecting with you. And I think all artists want to create so that they can connect in the end.
Mm-hmm. So what's the process like of starring in something you're also directing?
Oh, that's an amazingly challenging process. And I love to perform, but I also really love to direct too. And they're totally different hats. They're completely different experiences, at least for me, in the way I approach it. Directing is much more cerebral and removed. So I need to be able to see the picture and watch and kind of get a feel and pay more focus on more of an omniscient view of all the things, from the technical to the performance. And when I'm acting, I'm just one piece of the puzzle. And I can't know. It's actually not knowing. It's not being aware. It's only being aware of myself. And because that's real. That's what people are. We don't know what the other person's going to think or say, and we don't know what's around the corner. So to wear both hats is nearly impossible. I think the only way I was able to pull it off were two reasons. One, it was literally shot, a good number of it was in my apartment where I live, so it was so real. Two, the characters were so real, and Adam really was a neighbor of mine, and he never really acted before, and I think he came across as one of the most professional comedic actors there at times, and he was being himself. I was writing it as Adam. I was writing it for him. And Lisa, again, like I said, she did put it on. We wanted to go for a little of the Cruella de Vil, a young Cruella de Vil kind of over the top vibe there. But for the most part, there's a nuance of that in some of her personality, and she definitely brought her own personality to the plate there. So I think because it was so real on some level, that I was able to flow with it and make both work. And then there was the practical. Like, there was no one else that's going to get near my cat. She would have tore him apart, and it would have been a real horror movie in a different level. and so that was the only way we were going to make it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I had Bill Oberst on a couple weeks ago, and he had talked about he would like to do at some point a spinoff of his and Doug Jones' characters as the priest. Could you see that happening, and would you want to be involved in something like that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you know what I want to do now, to be honest, I've been obsessing in my head about turning this into a musical theater. And in fact, I reached out to a musical theater company that's very interested already. And I just think that's never been done like this. I would love to do, and being a musician myself and a composer, like I would work with Richard Albert, and I would just love to see all this talent coming back, and more that I couldn't get. Like, I couldn't get Robert Englund, and I couldn't get Tony Todd, who I kind of became friends with. There was a scene that was just perfect that really happened that I could have put him in that involved bees for real, which was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was just insane. And so I wrote that, but he wasn't able to make it, we couldn't come to terms with schedule and budget and all that. But he loved the script and the concept. So I'd like to pull them in and more, everyone that's involved in more into this world and create a whole musical. And I'm working with virtual reality and other people in Hollywood for other things. I'd love to eventually see that world built out. It'd be so fun. It's like a gateway to other worlds, and it would be a dream.
Real quick, what are some of your favorite horror musicals?
Horror musicals or horror movies or
horror musicals? Well, we can do musicals. Both, but first musicals. Yeah.
Well, I like. If you consider Little Shop of Horrors, I like that a lot. I loved what I saw, the production of The Evil Dead. I don't know if you've seen it in Las Vegas that they did. It was very off-Broadway. I very much enjoyed that. I thought it was great. Those two come to mind right off the top. So, but I don't know if there's that many, to be honest. I mean, now that I'm trying to think of all. Yeah.
Now that I think about it, either there's like Sweeney Todd and stuff. There's not a ton of them.
I
know they did the Reanimator musical.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that, but that's true. I guess they did that, but I can't speak to that.
So. I saw Little Shop of Horrors actually in the actual musical in the theater in California when I was like 16 when I was up there visiting my aunt. I forget where. It was awesome. I mean, I love the movie, but to see it in person, it was pretty awesome.
Well, there's one I really like too, if you consider it a horror at all, and it's Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Of course.
I think that's a lot of fun. It plays with, it's really campy but cool, and the music's fun and danceable. And it's, when that first came out, it got some pretty nasty reviews, but it wound up really growing with an audience and finding the people that identify with it. And it's still, I can't imagine they ever fathomed it lasting this long.
I know. Yeah, plays every night somewhere. Yeah.
It's just incredible, right? I don't know if there's a movie that exists that has those kind of legs and that kind of lifespan. Just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's got horror right in the title, so of course it's horror.
Yeah, but as far as films, I mean, I run the gamut in horror. I hate a lot of horror. Like, to be honest, most films I see I don't like. I think they fall flat, or they're just gratuitous or formulaic, and it just doesn't interest me, And I'm not into the horror of that has characters that are pretty much all evil, and there's no one that I can identify with at all in terms of any kind of redeeming quality. I'm just not into that, style of horror. So there's a lot of films I just have no interest in. But then I think there's so many great ones, and I try to pick the ones that inspired me or pushed the envelope in some way. And I tried to create an homage to all of those, like every single one of them in one film. So from something like a Rocky Horror Picture Show to something as found footage, Paranormal Activity, to some of the classics, of horror, anything Stephen King story wise, to Psycho, which to me is a horror film by one of the greatest directors, Hitchcock. So I try to put in all those elements and in one film. And create almost a world and a game for filmmakers, because I think there's too much boring stuff out there right now. And I wanted to create something that you really can't play on your laptop and watch it at the same time. You will miss something. So you're forced to engage and probably watch it more than once to catch everything.
Yeah. And I won't name any names, but I get a lot of screeners, from doing the show. And like I said, a lot of them, either just don't finish, or I wonder why it was made. But when something's like really entertaining, like you said, for whatever reason, either it could come through like everyone involved is either having fun or passionate about it, or it's just really well, for whatever reason, it's fun to tell everyone to check it out. And I thought Hell's Kitty was hilarious and a lot of fun to watch, and hope people check it out.
Cool. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I hope people check it out too.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I mentioned Bill Oberst, but the sequence with Bill and Doug Jones really is my favorite part. I have a lot of favorite parts, but and I don't want to spoil the joke because I thought it was a perfect line.
Please don't.
About cats.
I'm sure someone else will. But that what you're getting at is wordplay, and I love wordplay also in that world. Playing with that. Adrienne Barbeau does it a lot too. Later, if you recall, in her scene with all those phobias that she refers to.
Yes.
And there's one particular phobia that she refers to, which I didn't even know existed, and I had to go find that, which is actually a reference to her role in a short sequence in a series of short films. I'm not going to say anything because someone's got to figure this out. And no one's figured it out yet. It's like those Easter eggs, like the Ready Player One eggs. I planted a bunch of them in here, and I'm so curious who's going to be keen enough, smart enough, or have a strong enough eye on this to be able to find all of them, and no one's really found close to everything that's in this film yet, so It'll be interesting.
Well, when they do discover things like that, what's the best way to tell you? Hey, I found so and so.
Yeah, post it or find. I'm pretty findable on social media. My name is my first and last name. Nicholas Tana is the only one in any of the social media that I found so far. So that's pretty cool. And you can send messages. I'm sure you can find me that way, or info@hellskitty.com still gets messages. And if you're a writer or journalist or blogger, write about it and then send it along so I can see it, because I would, kudos to you if you find it. I'll promote that out, because that's I like when people do that.
Yeah. So I know this is after Angel died. Did you get another cat? Because I know myself, after my Faye died, after I had her for so long, it's hard to get another one.
Yeah, no, I haven't got another cat yet. I'm waiting. Angel is special. Angel came about in a special way too. It was very, very interesting. Her mom was basically, I didn't know she was pregnant for sure, but she was very sick and dehydrated and came to my doorstep. And then I fed her and she disappeared, and then came back days later, and then fed her and then she disappeared and came back. And so I called her Hope. It was like, this thing that comes in and out of your life, but you have no control of it. And so I named her Hope, brought her in. I was still hopeful that she wasn't going to have any kind of like feline leukemia or AIDS, or anything that alley cats can get, and then pass it on to her kittens when I found out she was pregnant. She had Angel. She was a litter of 3. And the day Angel was born, in fact, this is true too. I mean, you go back and look at it. The bank around the corner from my house was robbed.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why I know that is I was videotaping Angel's birth and realized I needed to move some money around or something. It was like on a Saturday morning. And I raced to the bank, did it, left my bank card there, and then raced back and started taking video. And then I called the bank, realizing I left my bank card, and they were like, hello, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, hello. And then all of a sudden, we can't talk right now. We're being robbed. Click. And I've never come close to experiencing that or anything. It was just so bizarre. And that was literally the day she was being born. And then years later, when the episode was out, I was starting the web show and was getting some publicity. I went back to that bank, and this was in Arizona. I went back to that bank and told that story to someone. And that person was that person. And she said, oh my God, that was me. And it was a totally different bank, but in the same city. And she had moved up in ranks there. She wasn't a teller anymore. And I was just blown away. And I'm like, you must write that. You have to write about it on my wall, on social. Please just do that. No one's going to believe me. And she said, I will. And she never did. And I think it's because, and I don't know if I should even mention the bank. I guess it doesn't matter. It was Bank of America. And and I don't know if she just talked to her co-people and they're like, that's not the publicity we want. But she never posted it, and I was so mad. And I haven't seen her. I haven't been back there, but
that's pretty cool.
I don't know where I was going. What was the question? I mean, you got with the cat. Have I got another cat? Yeah. Right. No. And so anyway, she was special. And no, one day, yes, I love cats. One day I would like to have some more, but it wasn't like I chose Angel, I guess is what I was trying to say. Right. Angel kind of came to me, and her mother chose me. And that's also part of the magic.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, the cat I was talking about was a stray cat. And at the time I had a bunch of other cats, and she would come around very small, must have, been born somewhere nearby. And, all the other cats, none of them would let her, eat with them, except for one of my other cats. And so she would, she would share food with her. And then so I started putting food out for her, and eventually she let me pet her, and then I kept her. And just, for the whole time I had her, I had her from junior high until I was in my 30s, and she wouldn't let anyone else near her. But I named her Faye because her whole name was Faye the Gray Stray that came to my house one day, and now she's here to stay. So there you go.
That's nice. There's a lot of people that like cats and like horror. There's a crossover there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's something about the supernatural element of the cat. They're almost like supernatural creatures normally, right? And of course, there's the association with them and witchcraft and 9 lives and Ninth Circle of Hell. It's definitely some commonality there. And what I love about Angel is that she's not a black cat. She just she's it's actually the opposite. So I think it breaks the stereotype, and it's really interesting because she's super cute and cuddly looking, but she really was very. She was wild. I mean, I've literally seen her go up to like 4 alley cats and scare them away when she got out. You know, like she had something in her. And so in fact, the only animal I saw her get along with was a pit bull. That was the only, and the pit bull didn't mess with her. They were just like, they kind of chilled and just hung out. You know, it was so weird. So she's like the rabbit in the Monty Python's Knights of the Holy Grail, you know. Like, that's more like Angel, you know.
I think that works for the story too, like you're saying, because if it's like an evil looking cat, which you would think, you know, a black cat at least that looks evil, it's a little bit kind of obvious, but it makes it it fits in better if it's just like a typical looking cat, a cat that looked like it would be just a nice friendly cat.
Right. It's more deceiving that way, and I got to tell you that works on the psyche too. That's why Lisa's character wanted to pet her, and that's why people don't expect, despite the warnings, what they're going to face off with. And so it's almost like it's like the deadly, you know, warrior that doesn't look like they're a warrior, you know, like she's more dangerous for that. And it has the power of like any kind of The Omen, or where you take someone small or innocent or cute, or like Chucky the doll, and deep inside is this possessive, powerful spirit. There is a level of humor to it, but there's also a level of fear, you know, that something so innocent and looking could be so dangerous that messes with your psyche, right? And then you don't know what to expect. So I think that's a cool element to having the cat, and then also having Angel. And of course, Angel, right? What was the devil? Exactly. The devil was a fallen angel, right? So there's that play on that. And her name was really Angel. I think that I was cursed the moment I named her that. It was like she did the opposite.
Yeah, and it's almost like I was thinking Michael Myers in the original Halloween, because it's just an unassuming, you know, kid that could be anyone's, you know, neighbor. You know, this could be anybody's cat.
Right, it can be. It could be anybody's cat. And what if your pet was possessed, right? You know,
exactly.
But then there's also you're a cat owner, right? So any pet owners will know your pets are like your children, right? And you get very protective and possessive of them yourself, I think. And so when someone comes around and insults your pet or like does them wrong, I mean, it's like your children. So there's a defensiveness there. You're also less likely to see when they do wrong, I think. I mean, how many pet owners are like, you know, get over it, you know, versus, oh, I'm sorry about my pet, you know? And so I think it's funny to see Nick's character, like there's these really crazy supernatural happenings, and they're getting worse and worse as the story progresses. But he's in a state of denial for most of it, and until it gets to the point of no return. And I think that's really fun. That becomes funny, but also somewhat realistic, you know, to how we're blinded by our love. You know, we're blinded by, you know, those we love. You know, it plays with love a lot. Like, you know, even the obsessiveness of love, and how the foil character, I don't want to give that away either, but how, you know, obsession and love, and how they're two sides of the same coin sometimes.
Yeah, you try to make excuses, you know, why it's not bad or evil or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So you did mention plans for season 2, like when would that happen, if that was going to happen?
I don't know at this moment. Right now, I'm just enjoying the ride of seeing Hell's Kitty out there as a film, the great press we've been getting on it, and the buzz. And then, of course, I'm going to be excited to see how that continues into March when we release it, so everyone can see it. And so I don't really know when that's going to happen. I'm taking some meetings, and I'm starting to talk to different people in Hollywood about other options here. So we'll see. But I really hope it does, because I really mapped this story out on such a level where some of these characters come back, and I want to say it, but I don't think I should yet. But but so many cool flips, and it continues to be an homage to different films that I didn't get to cover. but with these characters still involved in different levels. And I'll give you one little teaser kind of idea. If you remember American Werewolf in London, where the spirit of his friend keeps coming around. Well, imagine Adam.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah. So there's so much fun. Yeah. And then a real makeup artist moves in downstairs who's constantly tormented and screams a lot as a result. So yeah, it's just there's so much that I can play with to kind of take this to that next level. And of course it opens the floodgates with the curse, and not to give another spoiler, but yeah, it's I think personally the second season has even a lot more potential. I think the first one really just sets the stage, and I hope I'm able to do that.
Yeah. And oddly enough, I right before I talked to you, I recorded another interview, and his inspiration to making horror movies was American Werewolf in London. So it seems it's like I think it's some kind of sign or something. Yeah,
maybe it is, but I mean, it's one of the most classic horror films, and it's got elements of comedy in it as well. I think that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. It's one of the best combinations of comedy and horror, because it totally works as just a straight up horror movie, but there's also a lot of comedy in it if you're looking, especially if you're looking for it.
Yeah, there is.
Comedy doesn't interrupt with the horror. Like it's genuinely like a scary movie.
Oh, it is
hard
absolutely.
To pull off,
no, it's amazing. It's so well done, and then of course Sam Raimi brought a lot to that kind of mix with his series, his Evil Dead series, and what he's done in Drag Me to Hell even continued that. Mm-hmm. And then Joe Dante's like a master of it. I had the pleasure of meeting him. In fact, I'm going to try to get him to come to the premiere. I'm reaching out. Both of them actually. Yeah. Because they were inspirational, and he's done that so well with a number of his films as well. So yeah, I love that. When it works, I think it can transcend and go to different levels and be more memorable for it. So.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, what was it like to have Nina Hartley flog you on film?
It was an honor. She's great. She's so fun, and I think she has a comedy, an ability with comedy that that can work too. That we've only begun to see if she continues to do things. But she was great, and she really knew her stuff too. She was telling us. I didn't even know how to put that thing in my mouth, but she started showing me. She just took over and showed me, and she went to town. She's already in character. And of course, there's other little tributes there. I mean, I love Quentin Tarantino a lot as a director too, and I'm having a little fun with Pulp Fiction and things as well, and with that. And there's I try to give tribute to everything that's really inspired me, and the directors that really have, to me, shown some originality in a world of very formulaic filmmaking.
And I think for a project like this, it really works because, the people are going to watch it are most likely fans of horror movies and films. So when they see those things that they recognize, it really adds to the experience of watching it.
I think it does, and I think the ability to have fun with something that's become so endearing, and to take it to that level where it's something that you can bond with your friends and connect, and it almost becomes like flipping through an album, of this nostalgic feeling. I think that's just incredible when one can create that, and that's what I'm really happy about with the film and with Hell's Kitty. It's just that I was actually able to do that. The challenges involved in it's not like I had a huge budget on this thing. I mean, the budget I had on this would maybe serve lunch for like one day on set in any Hollywood production. I mean, it's literally that low. And in some of the comparisons it's drawing with other films that I know probably have had hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, budget, which is just incredible to me. So we definitely did a lot with what we had to work with, and that's real creativity to me too. And I think that's it's fun when you're able to pull it off and leave a mark,
Mm-hmm. And so let's see, February 22nd, TLC Chinese Theater. If you're in the area, if I was closer, I definitely would be there. But it's a long ways here from Massachusetts. But if you can make it, it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
And if you can't, then you can see it after. But definitely the premiere, because there's going to be a lot of people in attendance too, I imagine.
Yeah, we're still locking in all the different talent that are going to be coming, but also I've got a lot of talent that aren't in the film that are going to be coming down. I don't really want to say until I know for sure, because I don't want to get people excited. But but I know I personally invited Barbara Steele, and I've been reaching out to Sam Raimi and to Joe Dante, and we'll see if we can get them to come on down. It'll be a lot of fun.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
Thank you so much. I've had a blast. Anytime. All
right, definitely. We'll have you back for sure.
All right, I'll leave you with this.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I'm gonna try meow. I haven't done this for a while. I'm out of practice, probably. No, I can't do it. My voice is. I've had too much bourbon over the years, so. But I used to do a good meow. But
you might have to drink a little more bourbon to get it back. It's just
maybe so. Maybe that's a good idea.
Clear out the fur balls,
Excellent. All right, thanks, man. That was a lot of fun.
No, I had a blast. Thanks.
Hey, this is Genevieve Rossi, and you're listening to Without Your Head.